Thank you, President Ryan. Good evening. I'm Malo Hutson. I'm the Dean of the School of Architecture. The story I want to tell you tonight is about change, and even though change is hard, it's incredibly a beautiful thing. I didn't grow up with my father, but my grandfather was my hero. He was the one that taught me everything. My grandfather was born August 6, 1935, in McGee, Mississippi. McGee, Mississippi is a town of about 4,000 people, and coincidentally, many of the early settlers came from Virginia. My grandfather grew up in the Jim Crow South. He ended up getting a third grade education, not because he wasn't smart, but because he didn't want to go back to school because of the way he was treated. When he was old enough, he finally joined the military. When he could join the military, he joined it. He served for 21 years, and he joined the Army, and he was in the Division of Engineering. So he's in the Department of Engineering within the Army. And I realized much later, but not then, that my grandfather also went through a lot of trauma and pain. But he served in the military. He ended up doing 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. He didn't talk a whole lot about that. And when I was growing up, I wanted to be with him all the time. He was the first person to tell me about life. He was the first person to teach me how to tie a tie. He bought me my first bike. I wear an analog watch to this day because of him. I love the way he smelled, his aftershave. But he was a man who didn't say a whole lot, and I was a talker. So I was that little kid that would say, "Granddaddy, how come this? Granddaddy, how come that?" And now that I'm a father myself, you want to go down in the basement, go in the corner, and just take a nap? Well, I would be that kid that would find him and say, "Granddaddy," and he was just like, and to this day, I see my kids. Sometimes they find me, and sometimes I wake up and they're just staring at me, and I wonder what that means. The parents out there know what I'm talking about. But right when you get in that deep sleep, they come. So I was attached to my grandfather. And the things I remember the most about him is he would take me fishing. He liked to watch MASH, so I'd sit and watch MASH as a little kid. We watched Hee-Haw. How many people know Hee-Haw? Please raise your, yes. We watched Hee-Haw, so you imagine a little 5, 6-year-old boy watching Hee-Haw. And we also watched Chips. I thought Eric Estrada was the most coolest guy ever. For those of you who don't know, Chips was about 2 California Highway Patrol officers that would save people from burning cars and all those things. So I wanted to be a Chips officer. I thought when I grow up, I want to ride a motorcycle and be in the Highway Patrol, California Highway Patrol. I ended up being a dean, obviously. It's equally rewarding, but not nearly as exciting. So that was. But the thing I loved about my grandfather is that he would just make time for me. And one story that I want to tell is how when my friends came home from college, my grandmother goes, "Hello, Bob." And other people in my family call me Bobby, and people are like, "Why do they call you Bob and your name is Malo? That doesn't compute." Well, when I was little, I went with my grandfather everywhere, literally to the grocery store, and he was in the aisles doing other things that left me in the frozen food section. And so I was there shivering, and I was trying to say, "Granddaddy, Malo's cold," but I kept saying, "Bobo, cold." And he couldn't figure it out for a while, and I was thinking in my head of just get me out of here, out of this frozen food section. But I ended up getting the nickname Bob. And so that was one of the things that was always wonderful. But as time went along, my grandfather was the first, when I got accepted to Berkeley, first person in my family to go to college. He was incredibly proud. And we didn't have money to drive up to Berkeley, and I couldn't fly up there, so he said, I'll take you. But he shows up in his motorhome. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to take me all the way to college from Southern California, all the way up to Berkeley in a motorhome. But my grandfather was wise. And one of the things that he was doing is he knew that we needed to spend time together. And so I was thinking we're just going to go up the one freeway and just get up there. But we took time to go all the way up there. We would sit and talk. We had campfire. And then finally that last day, I was just thinking, I just want to get to the university. And when he dropped me off, he was nervous. He said, "You have all these things, but it's really hectic. Lots of things are going on." And he just said, "I'm so proud of you." And he gave me a big hug, and there wasn't a lot to, couldn't really say goodbye the proper way. But as he started to drive off, I just did this with my thumbs up, meaning I got this, right? And so that's something I always do when I think about things getting hard. I think about his life and what he went through and what he meant for me. But as I fast forward through my life, I left Berkeley, went to MIT. then was a professor, and then many years later taught at Berkeley and then taught at Columbia, and UVA called. And UVA said, we have this dean position, we think you'd be a good fit, would you be interested? And I thought, I love New York. Like, I'm an urbanist, I love New York, I had a great life in New York with my family and whatnot. And then I started thinking about my grandfather. And I started thinking about all the people that came before him that made it possible for me to be where I am. I had saw the leadership that was here at UVA. I knew where I was in 2017. Right outside these doors, what had happened. My daughter is 12 now, my son is 9. They were 6 and 3 at the time. And they were asking me, Daddy, what's happening? And I remember trying to explain it, and they just knew it was bad. They couldn't fully comprehend. My daughter could comprehend a little bit more than my son. And even though I loved New York, and I loved having a great life there, my grandfather spoke to me. And I thought about his third grade education. I thought of him growing up in the segregated south of McGee, Mississippi, and I knew I had to come. I had to come because this is bigger than us. And today, his grandson sits inside the rotunda in front of you at Thomas Jefferson's University to say that change is hard, but change can be a beautiful thing. And so I'm humbled by the opportunity. I think where UVA is going is a wonderful thing, and I just think about my grandfather all the time. Even when things are hard, I think about what he went through, and I'm just so fortunate to be here. So that's my story.